Hey guys, welcome back. Andrew here with Ambient Endeavors. And I don't know about where you guys live, but here in our neck of the woods, we have school back in session. It's starting to begin to feel like fall here. And with that, I've kind of started to feel this pull to kind of reimagine or reshape or just refine some of the things that I'm doing here in the studio, some of the videos I'm wanting to make, some of the ways I'm going about doing things. And so you might start to see some different types of videos on the channel here, a different level of frequency. I'm not sure. We're still sorting that out, but today I wanted to shoot a video because I've really been inspired by and into the newest Tycho album, Infinite Health, that came out a couple weeks ago. And Tycho is one of those artists that I guess about a decade ago came onto the scene with this really fresh, kind of cool new sound that spans a few different genres that I was really attracted to, really drawn to. We're going to talk about how to make some Tycho-inspired guitar tones with just two pedals, kind of simplify and strip back the approach and the pedal board, and get to the meat of what kind of makes those magical tones come to life in his production. We'll overview the two effects and run through some sound samples of ways you can dial in some of those tones. It's going to be a fairly casual video here, but first I want to show you the Tycho inspired track that I wrote and produced. Check it out, come back here, and we'll talk through some of the tones. If you are new to the channel here, please hit subscribe below so you can keep up to date on the videos upcoming here and everything that's going on the channel. Really appreciate the support, and I really love engaging with you, so drop a comment too if you've got questions or thoughts or a new music recommendation. I'm always into that. We're going to pivot to some gear talk now and talk about the two pedals that I was using in the sketch here to get some of those Tycho inspired tones and textures. These aren't by any means the only pedals you can use, but it'll kind of be a frame of reference for some of those like foundational Tycho-esque tones. The first pedal we have is from Templo Devices. It's their Reel Deluxe. It really kind of emulates a reel-to-reel machine and has two components with a preamp on the right here with some controls as well as a vibrato. One thing I love about this pedal is the simplicity, really how it packages two, maybe three effects into one and kind of gives you a great foundation for those textures for writing Tycho inspired parts and sounds. The right hand side here, like I said, is a preamp control where you've got gain and level, so you can adjust some of the sort of saturation of the preamp and then decide how much you want to boost the volume with it over here. You have a toggle down here that can engage a limiter, so you can add some of that kind of compression, so you can kind of create a pairing of preamp and compression right here on the right side of the pedal. That's really helpful for these Tycho sounds because there's a lot of compression, a lot of kind of nuanced and subtle saturation that's happening in the guitar parts in a lot of the music that he has, and so you can do that in subtle ways or in extreme ways with this pedal. There's also a tape speed toggle that can affect some of the EQ and sort of voicing of that preamp. And then on the left hand side you have the vibrato with controls for zenith and offset, your standard rate and depth controls there for vibrato. And with that you can dial in some subtle, slow, wavering, wow type characteristics or some fast, rapid, deep, fluttery tape vibrato type sound. So it's a really cool package to get those kind of compressed preamp textures on the front end and add in vibrato on the back end. It might be cheating, but the next pedal we're using is the new Strymon Big Sky MX, which is really all you would ever need for your reverb sounds. There's some really fun and nicely refined reverb sounds in the Big Sky MX, and I'm excited to show and tell about this pedal a bunch more on the channel, but I wanted to just throw it on the board here and was, again, feeling pretty inspired by just this simple combination of these two pedals to get some fun Tycho sounds, and we'll go over a few of the sounds and the algorithms that I was using in the intro sketch to get those. First off, I think having just a nice plate reverb setting is a really great foundation to a lot of music I like to write, but also to this type of music. You get that kind of sheen and the brightness and the reflective nature of the plate reverb, which kind of helps if you have the slightly muted or dulled or kind of compressed sound going into it. I like the combination that you can get with that. So I've used plate reverb throughout the sketch that you just heard. The cloud algorithm is obviously iconic at this point. They've even separated that out into a single pedal in their cloud burst, but I love the way that algorithm kind of billows and decays, but to combine some of those billowy kind of decaying textures with the compressed kind of staccato-y picking is another cool characteristic of some of the music that Tycho writes. I love how that can kind of add some air and dimension to otherwise some fairly percussive and kind of rhythmic sounding parts and production elements. The last sound I'll point out, and one that my buddy Mark Johnston was raving about after getting this pedal in, was Magneto, which is essentially a multi-head tape sound in the form of a reverb. You can add some diffusion to kind of smear it into a reverb, or you can also just leave it so that you get to hear each of those head repeats. And so that's kind of what I did in the intro sketch, where I was running Magneto into another reverb for this kind of slap of delay repeats and then diffusion with a second reverb there. It's a cool way to add some kind of splashes of chordal elements like I did in the track there to kind of accent a lot of the repetitive rhythmic parts that I was playing. And that's kind of the starting point. This track came together really quickly for me as I just plugged these pedals in and was feeling the inspiration and kind of went down the rabbit hole with this. But we'll showcase some of the sounds that you can get with this combination. And again, you can get these types of sounds or kind of imagine how you could create them with more exhaustive pedal boards with different types of compression, preamp, saturation, vibrato, and reverb. But I just found it to be really cool and a kind of a quick and simple way to create some of these Tycho-like tones and sounds with these two pedals. So we're going to jump over to a top-down view and just turn some knobs and hear some sounds so you can get sort of a hands-on view into how I'm finding some of these tones and combining some of these effects. Check it out.